There we
Hey
go.
everyone, we hope you are doing well. Well, my name is Brittany Dunn, and I have the pleasure of being the COO of Safe House Project. And I am joined today by our CEO, Christy Wells, as well as Carla Stevens. Carla Stevens is an entrepreneur. She was on Bravo TV. She is a fabulous mom and just really a powerhouse within her community. But the real reason that we brought her on to talk with us today is because beyond all of that, she is a fierce advocate for the vulnerable and stands up every day to help protect kids in our communities across America who are being sex trafficked. So we are going to take a little bit of time today to learn a little bit more about what Carla does as a face of the fight. And so first, Carla, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This is truly a pleasure and an honor to be able to be on here with you guys, especially in the middle of everything that's going on. Thank you so much for your work and your fight against, human trafficking. It's just the more of us fighting, it makes me just feel better about, getting up every day knowing that there are people like you out there fighting for men, women, and children that are suffering during this time.
Thank you. Well, speaking of this time, before we get into our formal questions, how has it been for you and your family? What has been the impact for you all?
I have to say that we are really blessed that we are all here and we are all doing well at this point. We are taking care of all of my extended family and my sisters and brothers and people that I'm in contact with. They are doing well. We have had to make some adjustments. I'm a mama bear, so I'm enjoying the fact that my children are here, with me, and I can kind of protect them. But there have been some adjustments, having to be here and teach the kids and make sure that they're getting what they need. I'm a business owner, the weight of those families on us and keeping our business going so that those families don't suffer. Just making the adjustments like all of America, there's not one person that has not had to make adjustments. And so it's really hard for me to complain at this point when you see so many people that are suffering and some of the injustices that are happening in our society, just like what just happened with Ahmaud and the young lady. It's just so much happening that I would feel guilty to complain. So I'm really blessed that we are here and that we are well.
I am so glad to hear that, yes, because I think that what this time has probably caused for many of us is that time for introspection. And for those of us who have the opportunity to still be employed or to have our family with us, that is a real blessing in this current climate. So I love that that is your current state, and just really appreciate you. So I guess really what compels you to fight for survivors of sex trafficking?
The thing that compels me, I would say it's the potential victims, it's the victims, it's the survivors, and even the fact knowing that it could be me. That could have been me. That could have been my niece. That could have been my nephew or my child. It compels me every day to want to fight for those who are predisposed to be victimized, for those that are victimized, and for those that are trying to survive this fight every day. I think that if people in general could put themselves just a little bit in the shoes of others, you will be compelled to do something, at least something, because you know that if it escapes you, it's because someone was out there fighting and that you are now aware. So just daily, those are the things that compel me to continue to fight and not give up.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I think that so often we forget that there are things that predispose certain populations to trafficking. And
yes,
even if sex trafficking isn't the issue that you yourself want to tackle, there are so many ways to support vulnerable populations within our communities. And just those actions can help prevent somebody from being a victim of trafficking. And so what is the way that each of us can give back to our communities is a huge question to be asking.
Exactly. I honestly, when I hold awareness events and I talk to people, I try to take it down to the least thing that they could do. And I just told a group of women the other day, if you know a single mom, ask her if she needs help. Can you take her kids to school, or can you pick her kids up? Because you helping that one single mother is saving her children from being predisposed to become victims of human trafficking. So to think that there's nothing you can do, that is just wrong thinking. And I'm not going to stop fighting until everyone knows that there is something you can do. There is something, help a single parent, help a single mother, help a young man that's on his own, because the longer that young man is on the streets alone, there's a potential of him becoming a victim of human trafficking, sex trafficking.
Right. And I love that you point out the boys, because I think that we always assume that it's women and, kids or girls, when reality is that, we see that about 35% of cases now involve boys. And so
Exactly.
we have to start seeing this through the lens of what does the national landscape really look like, not what are our preconceived notions based on antiquated beliefs around human trafficking.
Exactly. And I'm a mom of boys, so I have to include them. I have to educate my own sons that, you are a potential victim in this. So definitely.
Yeah. So if you had one kind of myth that you wanted to dispel, what would that be?
Just keeping with current kind of relevant things now, it's many of them, right? But the one, the most that I've seen affect my community is this notion that human trafficking is always like this violent, quick crime, like people driving in white vans and they're snatching women, or your Uber driver is a part of this big chain of predators. And that's a myth, that it's usually some type of kidnapping or physical altercation, because in actuality, it's typically some type of manipulation or some type of psychological means where they're coaching and coercing your children, and they're convincing them and seducing them into the commercial sex industry to exploit them. So that's, I'm sure it's not just in my African American community, but it's really huge in our community, because we have this tendency to think that it's something violent, or even the tendency to think that our young girls and young boys are just being these little fast, hot-tailed little girls. And, we really have to move past those myths, because myth is not true. It's not always. Now, can it be violent? Can it be a kidnapping? Yes, I am not saying that, but there's more than likely it is your neighbor. It is the guy who owns the gas station down the street. No harm against gas stations, but it could be anyone. So you have to just really know your children, know what they're doing, know what they're doing on social media, because it's going to be this manipulation and coercion of the situation to get your child into sex trafficking.
Right. I think so often we have the perception that it's a single moment in time. And really what traffickers are looking for is a moment of vulnerability. It's not that they always even have to be consistently a vulnerable youth.
No.
But I know 40% of our cases involve family members who are trafficking their kids. And we're seeing that, another usually around 25-30% are trafficked by that trust relationship, as you mentioned, whether that's the boyfriend,
the neighbor,
or the neighbor, or a nanny, a coach. Like, it looks so many different ways now that we really have to be on guard.
Exactly. And so the deception is, if you're looking for and you're prepared for the kidnapping or the white van, you're really not paying attention to your neighbor that's talking to your kid, that's at the bus stop when we're in school, and you're wondering, why are you there all the time? Because they're slowly waiting on that vulnerable moment. I love what you said. It's, it's the vulnerability. I just had an argument with my mom, so I'm storming out of the house. She's vulnerable. or, you know, my girlfriend's really just got these new Jordans or these new Gucci shoes and I want a pair. My mom said I can't have them. They will exploit any type of vulnerability that they can find in your child. And unfortunately, sometimes that's not something parents are always aware of and that we're not always around. So it's important to make our children aware. It's important to help everyone be aware so we all can be the keepers of our children, you know, be this village that's needed to fight this huge demon.
No, I love that. And one of the thoughts that I think we've talked about before is that what we're about to see with the increase in sex trafficking and the increase in those who are vulnerable. What do you think we're going to see coming out of COVID-19 as far as sex trafficking and what those impacts are going to look like to our community?
Whew, just from the physical side of it also, just you know, just imagine how healthcare is for everybody else. And then just think about those victims who are not getting healthcare and not being taken care of. That is going to be a tremendous toll. And I hate to say it, it may be something that make this world stand up and look. And when you begin to identify who these victims are, but just coming out, I think, I don't want it to be more vulnerabilities, but if things continue in the trajectory that is continuing and you have more families in need, more families out of work, there's just going to be a lot more vulnerable people who may think that they're getting involved in something that they don't know what they're getting involved in. And unfortunately, there are going to be families that are going to sell off their children for sex. There are going to be people that are going to put their children in this horrible labor, you know, putting them out to be slave workers and things. I just think that these are the worst times for human trafficking and domestic, you know, labor victims that are being utilized and not being paid, you know. So I hate to predict and say these horrible things, but it's realistic that in vulnerable times it's their dream. It's like it's a predator's or a trafficker's dream because there are going to be a lot of vulnerable people. And I think that we will need to do more. I think the government needs to do more. I think that, you know, I thank God for companies and organizations like yours who are constantly fighting and who are remembering those victims and survivors during this time. But just think about the survivors right now. Maybe they lost their job. And, you know, unfortunately, there's going to be a few survivors who think, you know, I need to be taken care of. What do I do? Do I go back to a certain lifestyle? So I don't want it to be that. And I know that you don't, but there's a possibility that, you know, we're going to see more cases. You know, if someone does not stand up and recognize that there's this population that if you think we're vulnerable, there is a population that's much, much more vulnerable than we are to become victims of human trafficking.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in a conversation earlier today with a group that works with intelligence overseas, and they said, while America is typically the number one buyer of sex overseas, tourism, but because the flights have shut down, those buyers with that demand change. But where they go for the purchases does change. And so those who would normally go overseas to engage in sex tourism, that demand has been brought home within our own borders. So
in our own borders,
seeing the normal demand that is there and illegal industry thrive in this time, but we're also seeing the demand increase because it's, again, being brought home within our own borders.
Yeah, that definitely within ours. And also, it's really sad to say, because when you look at the different groups of people who actually purchase or who are the ones that are buyers and facilitating the supply, you know, they're demanding it. Like you said, it's our men, it's our women. And just, you know, one of the statistics that comes out of where I am is that basically a lot of the girls, African-American girls that are being trafficked, that a lot of the people or the Johns or the people that are coming towards them are coming from the north side, or, you know, so all of that now, and I'm saying this to reach my community directly too, is you have to understand that our girls are commodities. And I think that they're even more so now because of what you said, that they can't travel overseas for a certain type or a certain taste. It's, you know, for me, it's no longer cute to have my young niece online now, you know, doing all these different things. I think that they need to be aware now of what's really happening, that the taste that's in America now and the demand that's in America now, just like you said, because they can't travel abroad. And so we need to be even more aware. And that's not stereotyping a trafficker or a John or anything like that, but it's you know, in my particular area, and the arrest and when they do the sting and operations, it has been a lot of African American girls. And it's because, you know, we're in this time now where we're more voluptuous, we're more, you know, the skin, I mean, they have a type too. So I would want to make them more aware and understand that you're really in high demand right now. And this might not be the best time to be dropping it like it's hot or shaking it, you know, till you make it so much in public without that awareness that they're predators that are hungry right about now because they can't travel. I also think though some of them might be catching a few flights. So I've seen so many people on flights, you know, when you're sick and you're hungry enough, you will do what you have to do to get there. But that's a great point that you made.
Yeah, I think that, as you said, there's always this tendency for buyers to pursue what they want, regardless of the climate. And I think the belief that just because the world shut down, that the demand ended, needs to be demystified, because that is not going to prohibit anybody from walking out a door or going online to recruit. And so recruitment is about, you know, online interactions, and really that just creates webs in which then these kids don't always know how to get out of, and the blackmail.
Exactly. And there's so many things becoming popular now, like the OnlyFans, and I just think people just need to be careful about what they're getting involved in and just recognize the times and the seasons that we are in when it comes to something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is a message that you would want to send to survivors?
Wow. My message to survivors is that your story matters, your life matters, and your freedom matters. And I am fighting for your freedom and your restoration. You deserve that and more. And that, you know, just keep going, keep living, keep surviving, and know that you matter.
That was beautifully said. I mean, that sums up, I think, the heart of every person who is a face of this fight, is that it isn't about us. It's about those who we get the honor of walking alongside every day and seeing them choose to take back their life, them having agency returned to them, and us just being facilitators of that opportunity sometimes, but by no means is it us. And so I just want to say thank you for coming on today. Thank you for the incredible work that you do, and to just inspire, really, especially the African American girls. I mean, your voice is very powerful, and one that hopefully cuts through some of the noise, and that you can talk directly to their hearts. And I love that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure and it's my honor. And, you know, I am glad to be a voice for the voiceless. And, you know, I just want people to know that, you know, human trafficking is classless, it's colorless, it's not, no one is off limits, even my people. I mean, I want you to understand that, and that our girls are not out there trying to be fast or trying to hustle. You know, it's a coercion, it's a manipulation, is all of that and more, and they deserve to be free. They deserve to be able to make their own decisions in life, regardless of how they ended up or got in the situation and circumstance.
Absolutely. Every one of them matters. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for fighting every day.
Thank you guys so much for the work that you do also. And thank you for having me here with you today.
Of course. And one more thing, Carla,
Okay.
you have a cool cuff that is on your wrist.
Yes, my safe house.
Yes, so it is one that the symbol that is in the middle of it was one that was used during the Underground Railroad. There were symbols that marked the path to freedom for those escaping slavery. And the symbol that is on your wrist is one that was used to indicate to those escaping slavery when they had finally reached a safe house. And so we hope that you wear that as a symbol of hope, a symbol of being part of the army of people that are going after those who have been trapped in a life that they did not choose. So hopefully you wear that cuff with pride. It's something that I know Brittany and I wear on.
I do wear it. Thank you so much. I've already gifted my other one, so hopefully real soon that my friend will be posting about that. And I'm gonna have to share with her what you just shared with me. And I do wear it proud because it's, safe. It's the key. It's the door. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for being on here with us, and you have a great day amidst all the quarantine.
Yes. Yes. You do the same. It's possible. We can always just think about people who are in different situations than ours and then find a way to enjoy where you are.
Absolutely. Okay. Be blessed, friend.
Thank you. You too.